Hello, everyone. Welcome to Heartwoods Haven. I am your host, Brandy Swords, and we have a special guest today, Becky Salmons.
Salmons, yes.
Yes, want to make sure we just talk about that yes, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on such a great podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is a safe space, so I let them decide what they would like to talk about. And go through that. So if you could just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. I am a licensed social worker. I currently am the social services director at Westmoreland Place. I also do assessments and therapy sessions at Serenity Wellness Center, and I also do it Outreach for Tomorrow.
Wow. So you're a busy person.
Always. I love being busy.
Yeah. So have you always been like that? You want us to have like goals and tasks and want to do it?
Oh yeah. I'm more of a goal oriented person. Like I have a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal, and I always want to make sure that I try my best to achieve them.
That's amazing. I kind of feel the same way. I have to have something to look forward to. And if I don't, I kind of feel like I'm going crazy if I don't know what I'm trying to do. I think you got to keep doing it in life.
Yeah, me too.
So how did you get into this field?
Ever since I was younger, my grandmother has always taught me, like, if you're able to help somebody, help them. If you have it and that someone needs it and you really just don't need it at the time, give it to that person. Always be giving and always be caring, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know the hardships that, they're facing. I've always instilled in that growing up in high school. There was a program called Launch that really influenced me being a social worker. Launch was a youth coalition, a volunteer basis of just freshmen to seniors, where we would help with Thanksgiving dinners for people who needed food, or we would do make little cards and give it to the nursing homes, the TI camp, and youth to youth. Just a huge volunteer basis of anything we could get our hands on, we would do it. And just helping the community.
And I think that's so important because, like we talked about the whole nursing home, I really think there's a lot of people that does not have a family that visits. And experiences that I've seen and dealt with, man, it just takes one moment, talking, just taking that moment to speak to someone. That's all they want,
Absolutely.
And, I think it's amazing the work you've done. And now, what did you do before that?
So before that, I was a hospice social worker.
And that, I mean, how was that to deal with? Like, was it a hard thing, or did it help you have more compassion?
It helped me have a lot more compassion. Being a hospice social worker is not easy. It's not for everybody. Hospice work is just not for everybody. People always ask me, like, isn't it sad that they're passing? Yes, it is sad that they're passing, but I want to make sure that I'm an advocate for them up until they are gone. And I don't see it as they're gone. I see it as they're on to their next chapter, whether that be reincarnation, whether that be going to the Lord, just whatever that they believe. They're going on to their next chapter.
Yeah. And I mean, thank you for that, because I think it takes a special person to do that, and to see it like that. A lot of people, you're right, they're like, oh, they're going to be gone forever. But I like your approach on it. And you're helping them move to the next stage, just giving them comfort and just to hold someone's hand and be there. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, I still do hospice social work sometimes, and sitting with the patients and stuff. It's a blessing to be able to be there for them and still advocate for them when they can't activate or advocate for themselves. So.
Yes. And that's what we talk about, mental health all the time. And like with your episode, I put saying the word fine is a lie. Because I'm like, how many times have we said, oh, we're fine. And then underneath, we're not fine. Yeah. Have you experienced that before? Not really want to talk about it. I feel like it's like a mask we put on, and we're like, we're just not going to talk about it.
Oh, it absolutely is a mask. I mean, I still do that all the time. Or I say, yeah, I'm okay, or I'm good, when really, like, I'm struggling, and it's just something that a lot of people feel like they have to deal on their own instead of reaching out. Um, I'm lucky to have family, a boyfriend and his family, like you, Brandy, who check on me every now and again to make sure that I'm okay, even if I'm really not. So it's really a huge like appreciation for everybody that does that.
And I feel the same way, because I feel like there's sometimes that even if someone doesn't want to talk about it, just kind of checking in is my big thing. Like, hey, just thinking of you and just moving on. I can't solve problems, I can't fix things, but I think just having that kindness and showing that you care is the big thing,
Absolutely.
And now, have like grown up, have you ever like have had anxiety or depression, or is that something you had like when you got older, or like have you ever experienced all that kind of stuff?
I experienced it from a pretty young age. A little bit of backstory about me: I was molested for about 8 years by a family member, and having that anxiety and having my heart race, not knowing what that was, that person would come around. And then slowly going into a deep depression with multiple suicide attempts, and just not having that safety person to talk to me, really was, honestly, it was sad. Um, but I got into that launch program where we were all very open about our mental health and very open about what was wrong, where we could lean on each other. And that really helped me deal with my depression and my anxiety without having to self-medicate like I was doing.
I see. Well, and I think I love it. Like, now, what helps you get through the bad days?
Something that helps me get through the bad days is talking to people, really explaining, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Do you think this is a valid reason to be feeling this way? And like, for example, I was talking to Dylan today, and I was like, do you think I'm a bad mom because I did this today on accident and I didn't mean to? And he gave me words of encouragement, saying like, it was an accident. Obviously, you didn't do that out of malicious intent. It's just a good way to talk to somebody, and a good reason to talk to somebody when you're feeling bad about yourself or having negative emotions towards yourself.
And I think that's what it comes down to, because I think we're all human, and I think we all kind of have that fear, because sometimes you're like, I can open up, or I want to talk about things that I've done. And I think we got to have that safe space, because there's some people that I think you can be honest with, and then there's some people I think you can't, because it's going to be more negative and it's not going to help your mind. And I think we kind of find the people, and honestly, I think it's hard to find people that you can open up with. I think you got to really research. So have you ever like joined groups or reached out to groups or been a part of groups?
So when I was first diagnosed with PTSD, I went on Facebook, honestly, and looked up PTSD groups, like PTSD awareness groups and stuff. And it was really, really nice to be able to talk to people who had similar situations like myself and hear their stories and get feedback and try some coping skills and coping mechanisms, to see if that would work for me. Um, I also like had my own like anti-bullying group, because bullying is such a huge problem in high school. I did like an anti-bullying walk and everything like that. But having that group, being able to go on a radio show to talk about my group and talk about those experiences, it's good to have, those kind of groups where people can message them, post on it, and everything like that. Like, I've had that group for over 12 years now, 12 or 13 years. And I still have people messaging me on it, asking for advice, posting stuff on the wall. And it's nice to see how something so small, a little group of people, even if it's a Facebook group, how something so small can create something so beautiful and so encouraging and so uplifting.
Yes, and I love that. And I mean, and obviously I'm older than you, so do you think it's harder or easier with social media? Is it more pressure, or is it easier? Is it easier to connect?
I guess it just depends on really on who you ask. I mean, for me personally, I thought it was easier with social media just because I grew up with social media. I grew up with, the first iPhone and the first iPod and, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to somebody that is older than me, who didn't grow up with that kind of stuff, might see that as it being way harder because they're unsure how to use it. They're unsure of who the people are. So it'd be harder for the older generation to connect with people other than with the younger generation. It's easier.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I've seen both because it's like when we were growing up, we talk about this all the time. Like you didn't see the things that we did or dealt with. We didn't have it on record, which is good and bad. You know what I mean? I think there's more help out there now. You can get, a lot of people have social anxiety, and it's very hard to get out. It's easier sometimes to connect with someone that they don't see face to face and relate to them. And I've seen both ways because I've done both ways. And sometimes when you're having that really bad day, you just don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do this. It's easier for me to just talk to someone on the computer and no judgment. It's just a safe space. And I don't have to worry about what I look like, what I think, what's going on.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah, because there's so many online therapy places now. And like with the 988 suicide crisis line, you can even text them now. If you have like a phobia or have social anxiety of being on the phone, there's multiple ways, for people to reach out if they're not comfortable.
And I agree because I've seen that both ways. And I've had a lot of people come to me, and we talk about this all the time. Like, how can we reach men? Because I still think this is such a big stigma. Everybody I talk to behind the scenes, these men are like, I just don't want to come forward because of the judgment. And like I talked to Dylan about this, because you're a man, you're supposed to be the strong one and this and that. And, and it's a horrible stigma to put on men that they cannot let their feelings out and cry and express them because they have so much pressure,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for men's mental health, from seeing it firsthand with family members. I'm a huge mental health advocate for men just because there is such a big stigma and they're not allowed to express their emotions. They're not allowed to do these things. They have to man up and, do manly things. And expressing emotions, crying or anything is not manly to them.
Yeah. And I think that's a big one because I want to be a better example too, because we have 3 grandsons. You just see the world changing. We do have more people coming out, but I still feel like we need to have more safe spaces where it's okay to be like that. It's okay to talk about it. That's fair. But growing up, like we just did not deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You just, everybody either let's just get over it. You were told, why do you feel that way? What's going on? Depression isn't real. Why are you like that? And there's days where like I think sometimes you don't know why. You could wake up and I'm like, I could watch a cartoon one day and be like, I'm just, And I think a lot of it with me is learning triggers. So is that something like you've experienced that certain triggers will put you in a different mood, mindset?
Yes. Like doing the podcast, I won't lie. Talking about my own mental health and, some of the things that I've went through, it does trigger me. But I know that even though these things trigger me, it's good to tell my story and it's good to let people know that it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to tell your story because someone might be going through the same thing and need those words of encouragement.
Yeah. And I feel the same way because I kind of felt like it was on me and I feel like I have to get out there. I got to kind of be the voice for people in the family, different people I know that are like, we can't do it. So I kind of want to do that for them.
Mhm.
If I'm going to step out there and say, hey, here I am, you know, people are seeing me, listening to me, and just trying to be bold. And I just got to tell my truth, because I think it's just too hard to suffer in silence when I feel like I could help so many people in some way, you
Mhm.
know.
I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm kind of the same way you are. Like, anytime I do a podcast or do different things, I think it's always nerves, you know, because you're always like, oh, I got to do this. I got to think like this. And I get overwhelmed, and I have to, you know, learn my breathing exercises and kind of that whole thing.
Mhm.
And I'm really getting into the grounding thing. I tell everybody in all the podcasts, barefoot, out there somewhere, that's for me.
That's probably what I'm going to be doing after this as well, especially because it's a nice day after the snow and the cold and everything. I'm more than likely going to be outside and grounding myself for a little bit.
Well, and how long have you been doing the grounding? Is that something new, or have you done it for a long time?
It's something new for me. I have started on like a little spiritual journey, trying to find myself after being with my son's father. Being with someone for so long, changing how you are, who you are, and after that relationship, you're not sure who you are anymore.
Yeah.
So I started a spiritual journey, and I'm learning more about grounding and stuff like that, in different ways that I can do it.
And I think that's hard, right? When you start learning about yourself and figuring out what you like, what you don't like. And I'm like, when you're with someone so long, you kind of get in a routine, patterns. And then when things change, you're like, who am I? You know, was I this because I was with them? And I think that's a huge journey for all of us, to figure out who you are, what you like, what you want to do. And that's massive. There's a lot of times you're like, do you like yourself? Do you want to be with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that that's a huge thing that I had to work on, you know, because I was like, friends, and I'm going to go out and be social. And then the older I got, I like more of the quiet, being in nature, and really had to learn a lot about.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I think that's painful. You know,
a lot of self-reflection. Yeah.
Yes. And I've got them journals and sat down and, you know, asked them questions, and they're like, okay, you can burn this out. You can be completely on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so have you ever done like journaling?
Yeah. I journal often, actually. I journal on paper, or if I'm laying in bed and just like something's just on my mind, I'll type it up in my notes on my phone. I've always been that way. I've always been into poetry and quotes and stuff like that growing up, because poems and quotes and stuff like that really helped me understand how I felt most of the time. So journaling and stuff really helps me determine how I feel, like how I truly feel about the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? People tell me all the time, it's like you really learn a lot about yourself when you start asking questions. And these questions I never thought I would ask myself. And then I started digging, and I'm like, I was trying to go back to that little Brandy. And I'm like, okay, what would she want? She could have been carefree. She could have been this and that. And then as an adult, all the pressure, you know, are you going to fit in? What are you going to do? You know, I've always been different in ways. I'm a very quirky, geeky kind of, you know, wild person. So I've learned to accept that. That's who I am, you know. And I think that's a hard thing, because society kind of puts pressure on you. And a lot of people worry, if I don't fit in, if I stick out, it's actually worse. But I've kind of accepted it's better to stick out if just be your own person, you know, because I'm going to be the person for someone else. I'm going to help someone else. They're going to relate to me because of who I am now, you know.
Right. And you being yourself will help others realize, like, it's okay to be that way, and it's okay to stick out, and it's okay to be your own type of individual.
Yes, exactly. And I'm kind of drawn to that, because I love to hear people's stories. I love to hear their experiences, because I learn so much from everybody that comes on here. You guys really inspire me because you will learn things and hear things that I might have never thought of or experienced. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It's learning all the time.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like doing social work, because I get to hear those stories.
Mm. And how do you try to disconnect yourself when you deal with stories and stuff? I know it's probably hard because it's probably very personal. When you hear people's stories, how you take that emotion on. Do you do things that like disconnect you from that when you have to leave work?
Not really. Sometimes I do take it home with me and I think about it, and it's not because like I'm sad for myself. I'm sad for them, that someone who is so strong and resilient and has done all these things has went through something so traumatic in their life that really just altered them, and it makes me really sad for them and that they have experienced that. I tried my best not to take things home, but in this profession, it's so hard not to.
Yes, and I agree. So what's your future goals? What do you want in your 10-year plan that you set?
So my 5-year plan is I graduate this December with my master's. It's going to take about 2 years to get my LISW, and then my 5-year plan is to have my own therapy business.
Nice.
10-year plan is to have 1 or 2 buildings. I'm wanting to start Inchula Coffee and hope to expand more. And I'm wanting to also, within that 10-year span, start another youth coalition like Launch, because Launch was such a powerful thing in my life. I can't express this enough. Launch has really changed me as a person and wanting to help others. And it saddens me that my last year at Launch was the last year that they were open. So I'm wanting to start a new Launch or something like that. That's been my goal for years now.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm like you. I think we need more of it. And I'm glad that you're on that path. We need more people like you that's going to come out there and have that compassion. And I mean, I think you're amazing because, at your age, the things that you are doing and you're passionate about and you're wanting to stand up and you're trying to make the world better. As a mom, I know you probably want to make this world better because of your child.
Absolutely. That's why I'm such a huge men's advocate for mental health, because I don't want my son growing up thinking that it's not okay to express when he's sad or anything. Like now, me and his Nana and his dad have taught him when he's happy, he'll say happy, happy. Yeah. I'm in the process of teaching him when he's sad. He'll say he's sad, I'm sad. I'm wanting to show him that having emotions makes us a human, and it's okay to have those emotions.
Yes, and that is so important. I agree with you because I feel like as a mom, I'm like, when my son was younger, I'm like, everything's okay. You don't need to see mom struggle. We're going to be fine. But I think we needed to show that side too, because I think as adults are like, well, life is really hard. Mom never struggled, but I did struggle. I never showed that side to everybody. They've only seen this side, the happy, lucky, but I never showed my other side. And I feel like now I need to be very honest. And I'm very honest with my son, and this is my struggle. This is what's on, because one day he's going to be a father, and I want him to be able to process feelings and help his kid process feelings, and you just really got to kind of break that cycle,
Yeah, I agree. My son has probably seen me cry, I don't know how many times, probably a lot. And it can be over little things. I'm just an emotional person. Doing this podcast makes me want to cry. But that's just because I'm just an emotional person. But when he sees me cry, he shows empathy. So he sucks on a blanket, and if you're crying, he'll bring the blanket and try to put it in your mouth. He's showing, here, this is what comforts me. Here, have it comfort you. So showing my son empathy and showing him that his emotions matter, and that mom does struggle, dad does struggle. We're all struggling in life, whether it be financially, emotionally, mentally, and it's okay, to cry about it, and it's okay to express your emotions with whatever that you're feeling.
Yes, and I totally agree. I think we need more of that. And I think a lot of times, as I say all the time, you know, when someone's angry or going through different things, sometimes they're just hurt. I always go back to myself. I'm like that little inner child that I'm hurting, but I might be doing things in anger that I shouldn't be doing, but I've got to get it out. And I've learned, like, if I need to go scream in the pillow, or I need to cry, or need to vent, I'm really trying to do that in a positive way. Because I think it is real. It's okay to be human and scream and cry, and you know, I've done all kinds of stuff. You know, playing them drums. Then the other day I said, well, you could do a drawing, and I don't know what it's called. You just keep drawing as you're angry, and it's just like drawing scribbles, and I don't know what it's called, but I just started into that. And it was pretty incredible when you're just drawing and you feel like your feelings are getting out in the paper. It's a weird thing, but any outlet.
Exactly.
You know? And I'm trying to do that with yoga too. I'm not very good at it, but I'm like, I'm trying. Downward dog. I'm just doing the best I can.
Right.
Yes. So, last question. What advice or tips would you give someone that is struggling?
My advice is don't give up. There are better days ahead. It may not be the next day or the day after that, but it does get better. And, you know, you may be going down a dark tunnel, but there's going to be light at the end. You just have to move forward and, you know, seek help. And it's okay to get that help. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you any less of a person. Seek help no matter what, because there's always going to be someone there for you, whether you think that or not.
Yes, and thank you so much for that advice, because I totally agree. I think, just, you know, reaching out, speaking out, speak to speak, you know, we can empower each other. And I always tell everybody, always reach out. I can be a text, I can call, I can just anything. So that's a big one.
Absolutely.
Yes, so thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And I always like to do the dance off, like I tell you. I just feel like you always got to get the kind of emotions out. So I just play music, we dance off, and I say bye, and that's it. So you can do whatever you want. I tell the guests, you don't have to dance. You can whatever. So it's whatever you want to do. So let me find some music. Okay. I tried just to do fast pace. It's easier. Okay. You let me know if you can hear it. I can play it. Do you hear it on your end? I don't hear it either. I'm like, okay. Maybe. Well, might be the first one that says we're not going to dance because we're not going to do it. Okay. So not sure what's going on with the music. So thank you for coming on. And I guess just wiggle it out. That's all we can do. Wiggle it out. Thank you so much. Go out and enjoy the day.